Welcome back. It's Saturday morning. We've been to the hardware shop and got a bunch of hardware for the new door. I've got myself a strong coffee. I'll show you what I got and let's get started. So I picked up a couple of things at the hardware shop. One of those was the railing itself. So I'm going to be using this 35mm by 5mm railing. I'll have to cut that to the width of the door space. But basically that's going to go up like so. And I was a little concerned that the wheels would potentially touch the screws that are going through. But I've double checked all that and that should fit quite well. I have said everything should work in the past and it hasn't. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to just keep recording. We need spaces from the wall out to the support bar, or the rail, and I'm looking for about 3 centimeters on that, which is just over, I think, just over an inch for those US people watching. I couldn't get the specific spaces at this store, so like some steel spaces. So I just got some galvanized steel pipe. That should work quite nicely, and I'll cut that to the lengths. I need 4 of those. I'll spray paint them black. It's basically what I'm doing with the cast wheel that I've got. I think it's cast aluminium, but is actually quite strong and should hold the door nicely. The other thing I'm doing is for the actual hardware of the door, I'm going to be using this and forging it to create some sort of nice decorative look to the brackets that are actually going to hold the door to the wheel mechanics. And I got these anchor screws, and basically they're designed to go into masonry. So this is going to be going into concrete, and that's the difficulty with the job I'm doing today, is I'm not going into wood or anything like that. I've got to go into a concrete slab. So hopefully we're not going to hit any rebar inside that concrete. I don't think we should. But I've got a masonry bit that's the right size, and this will just screw right in. And the way this works is that this one here is, I think it's an 8mm, no, 6mm screw. These actually take a lot of weight, more than than some of the other options for actually going into the masonry or the concrete. But the 6mm here. So the actual thread is bigger than 6mm, and that bites into the concrete as you screw that in. So ideally, I've been given some advice by the guys at the shop that this would be the best option, so we'll give it a go and see how that finalizes and finishes up. I will spray paint these at the end as well, so that we got sort of a black finish. I'm not sure if I'm going to actually spray paint the rail, and I might just leave it as that sort of black stock, but that's something we'll consider when we get closer to the end result. But first things first, I've got to cut my round stock, and we'll do that with the angle grinder. There's my 4 spaces. They're not 100% right, but they are within 1/2 mil of each other, and that should be fine. So I've got these anchor screws that are going to anchor into the concrete up the top there. I've painted them black. It's not a really good job because the spray can's gone a bit pear-shaped, but that'll do for now, and I can always touch them up later. And I'm just waiting for that to dry, and then I'll secure it up onto the concrete. That was a hell of a lot harder than I thought. A couple of things were the hole in the metal had to be larger because these teeth are actually larger than the bolt itself. So I needed to get the hole large enough in the metal for the teeth to go through. And then going into there, I'm pretty sure there's some rebar in that. And one in particular, I had to actually use a metal drill bit to actually get through one little section. So I assume that's what happened. I actually went through some metal. So it's going to be up there soon. All right, so we've got our socket wrench, our spacer, our anchor bolt, we have our railing. And first things first, I'll get the first one up on this side. Safety first, people. Let's go and put a band-aid on a couple of things and then we'll work out what we're doing next. That's not going anywhere. So the two ends have gone up nicely, so 2 center sections, and then we'll test it for weight. Test this out. Seems to work. It's not the best pull-up bar in the world, but it should hold the door. We'll have to touch up the paint on that, but I'm not unhappy with the result. Okay, but I'm starting with this piece of metal that I've picked up from an older job. Alright, we've got the leaf end to, or spade end to the door handle, and now I've got to just cut off this piece of steel, probably around about here, so that we can do the same thing to the opposite side. Then we'll bend it up and twist it in the middle. So I've got my door, and I've got my wheel, and I've got my brackets, and ideally they're going to sit around there. So now I've got to just put a couple of measurements on there to give it enough space above the wheel for it to hang on to, and then my first mark for where my first hole is going to go. So I'm going to drill through 2 spots, one through here and one through here, and that's where I'm going to screw the bolts on. So I'll put them through the metal first, and then I'll go further through to the door, and then we'll try it, make sure our bolts all fit, everything's working, before we go and finally give these a final fresh black paint. As you can see, they're a bit knocked around now because I've been grinding them back, and I've done a few things to them, but that's how it's looking, and I think that's looking pretty good. Alright, holes have been drilled, ready to go. I'm just going to clamp it to our surface here, and I've made a mark on the back as for how high I need it to go. So a few things have happened since the last shot. I'm not sure where you're going to be seeing this, but ideally I've decided to paint all the pieces because a little bit of time has jumped forward, and there was a fair bit of rust on each of the pieces. And I know I can potentially put oil on it and I've forgotten the word, but basically bake it on. I've decided not to do it in this case because there's not just smithed pieces or forged pieces. There's also some pieces like screws and the like that'll be on this too. So I've decided we're going to paint them all black, and you can see here I've got a little piece of line, and I've got each of the pieces sitting on that. We've got the wheels, and we've also got the brackets, which I think you can see there. And the door works, and I'll show you how it works in a moment. But I'll wait for that to dry, but I will jump forward, and the time will move faster for you. So when I was making the handle, one of them cracked right through that area there, and so I had to end up chopping that off. I chopped the one off the other side as well, and redid it. So they're not necessarily that pretty, but they do follow the family of I guess spades that I've created for the different mechanics on the door. So I've drilled holes through the center, and I've actually created an indent in there so that the screw can fit cleanly. So ideally it should fit like that. there's a slight gap, but it's not too much. And I'm going to use a screwdriver to put pre-drilled holes in these, so I can use the screwdriver to actually push them in rather than actually using the hammer drill, because I didn't want to knock too much of the paint off. So that's the end of the door build, and thank you so much for coming along with me on the journey. I'm a bit skittish tonight because it started raining outside and it's been incredibly hot over the last few days. You would have seen in the last shot it was beautiful sunny weather, but now it's stormy. And what's happened over the last 24 hours is a whole bunch of creatures have moved into my workshop. One of those creatures being this one right here. That's a brown snake, an Australian brown snake, which is the second deadliest snake in the world and counts for 60% of the snake bite deaths in Australia. And one of them is in my workshop. I do not know where. So it was here yesterday, and it doesn't appear to be here now. I pulled the place apart looking for it. I found myself not a rat's nest, but a mouse nest. And we've removed 5 mice from the workshop today. I vow to keep it cleaner from now on. But there is a snake somewhere. Hopefully he's outside. Hopefully he's not in with me now. But I'm a bit skittish. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that I just finished this beautiful new door, I would burn this house with fire. So thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, give me a like. If you want to see more of these videos, because I've got a whole bunch more in the can, I'd love to show you, so subscribe and hit the little bell so I can let you know when they are up. But until next time, thanks so much for watching.